Here we are again, hoping that for once, this is the weekend where the run for Ipswich Town begins. This is the Blue Monday podcast. Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast, discussing Ipswich Town up or down since 2015. I'm Richard Woodward, and this is the Prematch show brought to you in partnership with our friends at the Greyhound pub in Ipswich. We're available every week on YouTube video and podcast audio. And joining me to talk about Forest Green, is this the week, Seb? Is this the week where the second half of the season kicks into gear? Firstly, how are you, mate? Good to see you again.
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, good to be in your company again this evening. I really hope it starts this week. I gave my Chichilian sign-off at the end of the pre-match show. I kind of figured it was going to be lift off an amazing performance against Wednesday, was going to be followed up with an amazing performance against Bristol, and we were going to be up and running for this last third of the season, but it's not quite gone to plan this week, has it? So fingers crossed, 5 p.m. on Saturday, we'll all feel a little bit better about the situation than maybe some of us do at the moment.
Yeah, well, should we talk about the state of the mood? The guys did a really good show on Wednesday night, Mikey, Craig and Joe, about the Bristol Rovers game. So we're not going to drill into that too much. But I don't know about you, Seb. I'm using Twitter less and less and Telegram more and more. And again, we advertise it every week. But if you're of a kind of similar mental disposition to me, that negativity drags you down and makes you feel depressed, then Twitter's not a great place to be an Ipswich Town fan right now. The hashtag ITFC timeline is pretty depressing, isn't it? And I guess people are right to be frustrated, disappointed with the run that we've gone on of late. But a lot of catastrophizing, I'd call it, about Kieran McKenna, certainly, Seb. What's your take on the situation here? I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it nice and open for you to interpret as you see fit.
I probably, like most of the fan base, am frustrated with what's gone on for the last, what feels like 2-3 months now. But equally, I think I'm quite a rational person, not too high with the highs, not too down with the downs. So I kind of think to myself, compare it to where we were. I know we've got, is it entitlement? Is it, expectation? I know the guys debated this on last night's show. I know it's frustrating where we are, but if you compare to where we were 12 months ago, 24 months ago, 36 months ago, it's all so much further down the line. And I personally see that as a real positive. And of course, if we do finish 4th, 5th and go out in the playoffs and we're in League One again for another season, then yes, that is not how the plan was meant to go. I think everybody inside the four walls of Portman Road would admit that, and they would say this is not what we had in plan, for year 3 of the project as it will be going into. But I think some perspective is needed a little bit. I don't agree with the McKenna out, bring in somebody else, bring in an experienced coach, he's rubbish, get him out, blah, blah. I just don't see that as an option. I think if you start doing that and start pushing nuclear buttons on management and coaching staff, then what's the point? You're ripping up this project you've invested heavily in, that's clearly the Americans, the ownership group's preferred way of doing things. I think anybody that thinks McKenna is not exceptional at what he does, from an elite level coach, just look at what we were doing last year compared to this year. I know things have dropped off recently, but if you just look at the patterns of play, the goals scoring from set pieces that we couldn't do last year, the players that have moved on, this shows that he is able to get his methods and his techniques across on a training pitch. And whilst it is incredibly frustrating at the moment, we do perhaps need a little bit of perspective that spending money does not give you a God-given right to get out of this league. Sunderland were here for, was it 4 years? Sheffield United 6 years. Forest, I think, were 4 years. These are some big clubs, maybe even bigger than us, dare I say, that got stuck at this level. So whilst it is frustrating, and by God, we do need to start turning this around form-wise, I personally think that McKenna is definitely the man for the role. I would have full faith that he will sort it with his coaching staff, because whereas under previous managers, I'd probably be a little bit concerned that they wouldn't go into the in-depth analysis and detail that we know McKenna will go forensic on to try and identify things to improve upon. And I think that, yes, we need to improve, but I fully believe that the over dramatization, the meltdowns on social media are just strange at this point. They're just odd behavior, because it's almost like people have forgotten. It's like we remember back till August, and that's our entire view of Ipswich Town Football Club. How many years were we struggling and just bemoaning the lack of everything for a whole season rather than 2 or 3 months? So yeah, for me, we do need to turn it round. The form is disappointing. The players have to stand up. But if you're just going to go to a football match to boo people and criticise and shout C bombs and F bombs at your captain at full time, then there's no point going, is there? We need to be behind the team. I don't think it's any real coincidence that one of the best performances I've seen recently was that Burnley game I keep referring to, where 1,000 fans sung pretty much non-stop for 90 minutes. That was quite clear on the iFollow audio and the any kind of commentary and stuff. So I think the players do feed off it, and yeah, we need to get back to being behind the players, because the division, what did you call it, the catastrophization, if that's a word, of the current situation, I don't think does anybody any good, neither the club nor the fan base. What are your views on it? What do you think?
Yeah, a lot of that you've said really well. My thinking is McKenna is the kind of coach that will be constantly trying to develop and evolve the playing style, and he'll be acutely aware of our limitations. The idea that he can flick his fingers, though, and fix those problems overnight, it just doesn't happen in football. It took McKenna, a good few months to establish a way of playing when he arrived, and even during the summer. So the idea that we can fix things just by flicking fingers or signing a few players in the January window, I think people need to definitely just take a breath. I can totally understand. Chill out. Let's all calm down. No, I can understand why people are disappointed, right? And expectations have been raised, but I remember saying it in pre-season, Seb, and I'll say it again. The idea that you can go from mid-table to automatic is a big stretch. And I predicted us playoffs, admittedly third, because I thought it would be a challenge. And League One is a challenge. It's a horrible, grotty league where no one's going to do us any favours. And I think probably the main learning, having played Plymouth and Sheffield Wednesday of late, where both of them have got an advantage on us, is physicality and the availability of options in the central midfield, particularly Sheffield Wednesday. I think that was pretty clear that there were points on last Saturday where they bullied us. And I think right now, I think we're trying to play the game the right way, but maybe there's a little bit of nastiness that we need in there and intensity that Joe was talking about. And, I trust McKenna to get it right. And I also, and this is a personal thing as well. I know it's really easy for us to sit here and preach at football fans who pay their money, and that's not what this is at all. But in life, if you approach every situation with negativity, it just creates a vicious cycle of negativity. Negativity leads to negativity. Yeah. And we really need to kind of, I think I said it last week, but reset, recalibrate the way we think about things and realize we've got a really valuable role to play for the team off the field. We set the mood around the club, whether we like it or not, or whether we know it or not. And right now, I think the fan base is struggling quite fairly, but large portions of the fan base are a bit of a mood hoover right now. And we need to, I know it's easier said than done, but lift ourselves. And, I wouldn't want Saturday to be flat. We can't go into Saturday and think, right, we're going to roll Forest Green over because we thought that we should roll over Bristol Rovers and we thought that we should roll over Oxford. And we, all of these teams where we thought we deserve, the game's won already. I think if we have a bit of humility and reset and try to engage and energize and bring the obvious passion, this is what we see, the emotion on Twitter is people's emotion. People love the club. I get that. But I think, as I say, take a breath and try to channel it in a way that is constructive. I think everyone's lives would be much more improved. So there's Seb and I's state of the nation on things. It is a tricky time. It is a tricky time. And, I don't want to come here and slag off our supporters because people travel in great numbers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, everyone's got a right to be disappointed. Yeah. It's not gone to plan the last few months. Do you think as a fan base and maybe as a club, if we become a bit arrogant and it's a new sentiment because for so long we were the underdogs punching above our weight in the Championship, and now we just naturally assume that, given the money spent, we have a God-given right to be top of the league? Do you think that's crept in a little bit amongst all of us?
Maybe in some areas, but I'm convinced that we've all got the scars of 2014, 15, 2004, 2005, 2001, 2002, where essentially we each instance is a little bit different, but essentially there's a point where we are in a position of strength, a position of strength to progress and to move on. And for some reason we throw it all away. There's to borrow the phrase that we keep seeing on Twitter, there's a bottle job about Ipswich. And I think this is the situation right now, which is people assumed that because McKenna had got us playing so consistently and we just missed out last season, we'd added into the squad. We started the season really well, which is probably, again, Lambert situation, 18, 19 and 2021, both seasons started positively and then fell away. I think people are just angry that it's happening again. I think that's probably it. I think people hoped for different, but it's Groundhog Day, isn't it, with the way that the season's gone. But different manager, different players, and there's a long old way to go in the season yet. So don't give up. I think probably automatics is a stretch because Sheffield Wednesday and Plymouth just need to keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But people throwing the towel in on playoffs, I think, let's try and regroup and bring that positivity if we can. And we know that the fan base is so good, Seb, because last time town fans supporting food banks did donations, it was unprecedented, wasn't it? And if ever there's a quality segue there from trying to encourage people to bring positivity, this was great last time, and the guys are back again, aren't they, in the fan zone this Saturday? Do you want to give us some details, and I'll put imagery on the screen to show people what to bring.
Back at the fan zone between 12:30 and 2:45. If you go to @ITFC_FSF on Twitter, you can see that list there that you've put on the screen is the list of the things in demand and general advice of what to bring along. Apparently last time we went absolutely superbly, so fingers crossed they'll get a similar kind of reaction and turnout this time. And it's just an example of what we can do as, town fans of the community and help those less fortunate than ourselves. So please, if you can spare some time and some, a bit of money for it, please get down there and go and see the list on Twitter. Take all that stuff along, and I'm sure the guys will be incredibly receptive to take it.
Yeah, and the Twitter is @ITFC_FSF, and we will retweet as we have done all week. And those on the podcast, bits and pieces, that everything that you'd put in the cupboard, basically the food cupboard.
Yeah,
and I think cash donations also welcome as well. So all the best to the guys at Fan Supporting Food Banks, and there's some positivity to start your footballing weekend off with there as well. So do get involved in that. ITFC women have a weekend off due to international call-ups, and just prior to recording, one of those players called up for England under-19s, Freya Godfrey, had scored against Germany, which is exciting. And they're back in action, very rapid turnaround in facing Watford, who we drew with a few weeks ago, 1-1. Back at the AGL next weekend. We'll have a special ITFC Women preview show with hopefully a couple of the players and Kieran Stanley, as always, and some exciting news to announce at the start of next week. Spoiler alert, we're one of the sponsors for the game. So, we're looking forward to that one, and I hope plenty of people get down to the AGL next Sunday for that one. It's a big game, right at the top of the division.
We owe them one after that late equaliser, don't we? We owe them one after that.
Revenge is due, definitely. Talking about this, is this scripted, guys? That's what we want to know. Does Rich come up with his segues on the spot from the top of the league, Seb, to the bottom of the league this weekend for Forest Green? Poor Forest Green, who I'm sure all of us have a weird soft spot for, either because they're ethically minded. You might be a vegan. You might be down in the Southwest. We've got a lot of our friends down in the ITFC Southwest Supporters branch down in that neck of the woods. You might have gone to the game at the start of the season when, blimey, the sun was out, the sky was blue. We all got a little bit sunburnt, and Sam Morsley scored a worldie from outside the area. How times have changed. But Forest Green, it's not been the adventure in League One that they were hoping for, Seb, is it?
It's not, has it? No. I think when we did the preview show with Gab in the summer, I think you and me, I think we had them to stay up. We thought they'd struggle a little bit, but certainly not to be rooted bottom. And that's where they find themselves. They're bottom of the league with 22 points and 7 points away from safety. Played 32 games, won 5, drawn 7, lost 20, only scored 25 goals and conceded 59, which, is going to absolutely kill you, isn't it? Last 5 games, no wins, 4 defeats and 1 draw. Their away form, relevant for them coming to Portman Road, is poor. 26 22nd in the league with only 10 points from 16 games. They've only won one game away all season. The last 5 away games are 3 defeats and 2 draws. They haven't won since the start of December. I think it was December the 10th. At the weekend we played Peterborough. They won at home to Cambridge. So we're coming up over 2 months now without any kind of victory. Sorry, Cambridge. Did I say?
Yeah, no. I was about to have a bitch and a moan about
because they always just roll
Cambridge
over
are in my list.
Everybody apart
along
from
with
us. Yeah,
Charlton
Oxford.
and Wickham.
Oxford, you've got to put on that same list.
You bunch of shit houses. I'm getting that in there now. Turn up for bloody us and don't turn up for anyone else. I hate League One. Cambridge, you muggy bunch of what's-its. Yeah, keep going, Seb, sorry.
And they've kept just 2 clean sheets all season, none of which have been away from the new lawn. So I guess if you wanted a game to bounce back with...
Don't.
Why? Are you going to clip it after a 1-1 draw against Forest Green? If you want a side to bounce back up against, bounce back against, then surely the team in such awful form at the bottom of the league is who you would pick, isn't it?
Yeah. Who else did you pick?
Logically, on paper, it is, isn't it? At least, yeah.
Well, I'd probably go for a mid-table team that we know has 55% possession and doesn't like the low block, but I'm pretty certain everyone's going to play the low block against us, whether we like it or not. So,
get used to it. It's not going anywhere, is it?
Get used to it. Yeah. Talk to us about last time out. Obviously, form not great, as you mentioned, on the longer term, and we'll talk about a managerial change as well shortly. But no improvement midweek.
No immediate improvement with the new manager coming in. They lost 1-0 at New Lawn to Charlton on Tuesday night. Corey Blackett-Taylor with the decider after 12 minutes. Not great possession, 39% possession, 13 shots, but only 1 on target. They forced 9 corners, so there was a little bit of pressure in the Charlton box. But yeah, from all the stats and all the highlights, it looked like a fairly comfortable Charlton victory. So yeah, with the new manager coming in, who we'll discuss this in a minute, I guess we'd expect a little bit of takeoff, shall we say? But it's just not kicked in for them. And as you alluded to at the start of the show, we last played them back in August. It must have been the second game of the season, I think it was, wasn't it? On that gloriously hot day, we all got bussed up the hill to the stadium and tried the vegan food and went to use the toilets where they recycle the urine to put onto the pitch, and it was a lovely day. Marcus Harness kind of lashed one home from around the penalty spot. Sam Morsey then scored with that great goal where it was hard to tell if it had gone in due to a combination of, was it dark nets and shadow and sun, and 2-1 victory. They pulled one back in the second half. Josh March got a goal back for them, but it was pretty comfortable. We saw it out fairly straightforward, and it was got our season up and running, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the goal that we conceded was pretty Ipswichy, wasn't it, though? Kind of second phase from a corner, wasn't it, if I remember rightly, or is it a deep cross that we didn't clear well? But yeah, that Morsey goal was decent, and travelled in good numbers, and it's a weird old place to go and watch your football, though, isn't it?
Very strange. I'm glad it was a hot day in August. I wouldn't like to do it in night in January. That would be horrible.
Quite a few postponements, haven't they, as well?
Yes,
up the top of the hill.
Yeah.
But yeah,
they're looking to move, aren't they? Didn't they have? They've got permission for a big stadium, a bigger stadium, just near the M5, I think, haven't they? I'm sure. Yeah. We discussed that last time. So yeah, it was an experience to do. I'm glad I did it, but I wouldn't have fancied it in the winter months.
Yeah, so I mean, we mentioned this, Seb, at the start of the season when we did our pre-season show with Gab. We kind of thought they'd have the momentum, didn't they? Top of the league, champions. It was a good season for them last year, wasn't it? You usually see that kind of double bubble momentum-y kind of, but the other promoted sides seem to have adapted better, don't they?
Well, Port Vale, I guess, are the real example of that, and to a lesser extent, I guess, maybe Bristol Rovers. Yeah, they won the league, didn't they? They went up and they 84 points, joint with Exeter, but a better goal difference of 7 means they win the title. And yeah, they were scoring goals fairly freely at that level. They had a couple of players who you thought maybe could make the step up into League One, but for whatever reason, it's just not happened. I know they had a big loss with Rob Edwards moving on to Watford under. It was fairly acrimonious, wasn't it? If I remember rightly,
I think they weren't happy about it.
Yeah, they did a statement, didn't they? Saying,
I think they may have accused Watford of tapping up, allegedly.
Yes,
lawyers.
Of course, for all the Forest Green lawyers that are watching. There was a statement definitely put out. So I guess that might have thrown their plans into a spanner in their plans going into summer recruitment.
A spanner in their plans.
Yeah, I don't know.
A spanner in the plans, everyone.
A spanner in the works going into their summer kind of strategy and recruitment meetings and stuff like that. But yeah, you normally see the side that wins the league tends to have that momentum ride through to kind of finish comfortably. Exeter are an example of that. But for them, it just hasn't happened, has it?
No, and you would think January. We talked about January transfer windows, didn't we, a few weeks ago? About do you use it to make incremental change, or do you use it to fix underlying issues that you haven't had a chance to sort out? And it's chaotic to me on the outside, Seb. This January business. We talk about the new manager that came in January as well, but lots of business going on here. And we discussed this beforehand. You can't really see a huge amount of structure or strategy behind it either.
I can't work it out at all. They have 11 arrivals, 4 of which are loans. They have 13 departures, 10 of which are loans. Their top striker goes. I think their second top striker goes. I can't work out the plan at all. For the vast majority of the window, Ian Birchnell, the former manager, is still in charge. So I'm assuming it's him and the recruitment team that are signing off on these kind of deals. Is it a chance to just look to bring in some fresh blood and try, hopefully you stumble across something and get enough points to see you through? It's a very strange window. They haven't gone for, sometimes you see sides in this kind of predicament, a bit like Cambridge, who go out and sign the likes of Michael Morrison and Bennett at the back to add a bit of, nous and experience. They don't seem to have really done that. Some of the signings are younger kind of loan players. So it's very hard to see what their strategy was, which I guess, again, is an explanation for why they find themselves where they are. Connor Wickham, obviously, is the name that we all know. He departed. He went quite early in the window. I think it was like the 5th or 6th of January. And his short-term deal had expired. He was the top scorer with 6 goals in 13 starts. And he had to spell out, didn't he? He only joined Cardiff in the last sort of 10 days or so, didn't he? So he was kind of without a club for a month or so while he was trying to get himself a move kind of lined up. Jamal Matz has gone to Walsall. He was one of the strikers who was kind of scoring relatively freely at League 2 level. Matt Stevens, a striker, has gone to Walsall. Josh March, the guy that got the goal against us, another centre forward, has gone to Stevenage. He had 4 goals and 16 appearances. So you're talking there of kind of 4 strikers who've all departed the building, and they haven't really looked to replace them with similar kind of numbers. Jordan Garrick can play as kind of a right forward, right winger. He's come in from Swansea. I think he's got 2 goals so far since he's joined. Amadou Bakayoko is coming from Bolton in the centre forward role. Charlie Savage, was he one of the ones on work experience a couple of years ago with us? Is that I'm sure he from Man United. Do you remember we had a couple of players on like a young?
Oh, did we?
Yeah, they came in like almost like on a work experience type thing. It must have been when McKenna was here because of that link. Obviously, son of Robbie Savage. He's gone there on loan, central midfielder. Tyler Oniago's gone there on loan from Everton. Again, another central midfielder. So it's strange. They've brought in kind of very young, possible high ceiling Premier League loans to kind of get them out of this mess. And I guess they kind of brought in 2 strikers to replace the 4 that have departed. So a really, really strange way to kind of, go about your January business. Maybe if the manager change had happened halfway through the window, I can understand it a little bit more. But as we'll talk about now with the manager coming in, there was only 3 or 4 days left of the window. So the strategy seems very, very strange. Also worth saying, they've let a bit of experience go as well. David Davis, who I think was at Shrewsbury last year. He's like 31, 32, central midfielder, been around the game for a long while. He's gone out to Solihull Moors on loan. So again, an example of a strange strategy where you're letting somebody with hundreds of league game appearances walk out your door, and you're replacing them with 2 basically kids from Premier League sides. So yeah, a strange one that I cannot really work out why they've done it this way.
Let's talk about Duncan Ferguson then. I remember us talking about Ian Birchnell in the pre-match show ahead of the game at Forest Green, and definitely had kind of shades of a Graham Potter type appointment that when at Brighton, not Chelsea, and it's just not really worked out for him, has it? There,
no, obviously, yeah.
Not really a surprise, that decision.
No, potentially. I mean, the form of their room was so poor, they had to do something, I guess. Also, he comes in from Notts County last summer after they lost in the playoff semi-final stage to Grimsby in the National League. So he wasn't really coming in with any kind of success behind him, and he's just not been able to get them going at all, has he? But Big Dunk has taken his first official kind of managerial role in the game. I
really
like
incongruous.
Do you like him? Well, it's very strange, isn't it? Because you kind of you think of Duncan Ferguson as we all saw him at Old Trafford when he was just like in a shirt in freezing cold conditions, geeing up the Everton fans, and you kind of figure the club ethos of Forest Green and their owner and what they're trying to do maybe doesn't necessarily fit with his character type. I think didn't somebody ask him in the first press conference if he had a vegan pasty or something yet, and the answer was a very short no, not yet, or something. So it's a strange appointment given what they're trying to do off the field, I think.
Yeah, look, that's what I mean. Like, you look at it and just doesn't fit right. I mean, a great coup for them.
Oh yeah,
but the fact that they've not really kicked on yet under him doesn't necessarily surprise me, because I think he's a galvanizer and unites the squad. But it must be so disheartening being a Forest Green player right now. And this isn't a team that's hovering outside or just below the relegation zone. This is a team that's been down there for quite a while, and I wonder whether tactically he's astute enough to figure out a strategy for them. Yeah, do you want to remind us about because he's basically been around Everton for so long now, and
he's
how many caretaker
yeah.
spells has he had? 2, 3, is it?
I think so, yeah. Obviously, he's best known for his playing career at Everton, Newcastle, and then returning back to Everton. Everyone knows what he's like as a character. I think he looked after the club. Was it before Ancelotti came in? Maybe one of the many managers they fired over the last 2 to 3 seasons. He did okay, didn't he? Yeah, like I say, I remember him at Old Trafford. I don't know if they won or got a draw, but he was there on a cold day. I think he was just in his shirt and tie and, in front of the Everton fans giving it the big one. So I like him as a character, but he's not got them going at all. He's had 3 losses and a draw in his time in charge. I remember the first game they lost. They were winning until the 94th minute. Was it Shrewsbury? 94th minute equaliser, 98th minute winner by Shrewsbury. So yeah, I guess if they're doing a sliding doors moment on Duncan Ferguson's time in charge in a year or two's time, that surely will be one of them. Obviously, we know him as a physical, strong, big brute centre forward.
Physical, yeah, understatement.
An old school centre forward.
He's a bruiser.
Yes, very much so. So I guess you can expect, physicality, passion, desire, all those kind of character traits you associate with him. He'll be looking to get across to the guys on the pitch. I like him. I think he's a
great
real
character.
coup,
yeah.
And I'm very surprised he went there, especially given the fact that wasn't Lampard sacked before he took the job at Forest Green, and I kind of thought he might get Everton somehow in the building as even a caretaker role or whatever to try and galvanise them. So it is a real coup for them. And fair play to him for dropping down and for doing things the hard way. It's probably easy to turn up at Everton as a first-team coach where you are an icon and everyone loves you and try and have a relatively easy life. So I'm all for players ex-players taking themselves out of their comfort zone, and to take a relatively thankless job at the bottom of League One for your first job is quite impressive, I think.
Yeah, well, he's kind of following the path of Scott Brown and Mark Kennedy kind of thing, isn't he? So, yeah, well, I guess.
Well, that would be a clash on the touchline, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
when does Fleetwood pay Forest Green?
Yeah.
Scott Brown against Duncan Ferguson.
That would be tough. But yeah, as you say, I kind of from the outside, it doesn't feel like a fit to me. But after this weekend, I think we wish him well and Forest Green well. And if he can do something, then good on him.
I'll be honest, if I bumped into him before the match, I'd wish him well on Saturday as well.
Please don't have. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Good luck, Duncan.
Good luck, Duncan. Hope you're not listening. I lifted some stats before we recorded, just to compare 3 things that off the top of my head I thought stats wise could I find a difference between pre and post Ferguson. So I found possession stats, total shots, and fouls.
Right.
So pre Ferguson, average possession for the he's been in charge for 4 games. So it's the previous 4 games. 50% possession on average for those matches, including 63% in one of those games where I think they battered Bolton and lost 1-0, which is the kind of games I'd love to see us have. Since he's come in, 38% on average in the 4 games he's been in charge. You mentioned the possession against Charlton. That's standard. Actually, that's the highest they've had so far. 39%. They've had 32. 44, sorry, was the highest. 38, 39. Shots, he's gone up marginally. 8 shots on average for the 4 games prior to him coming in. 11 after. Fouls, average 9 before, 13 afterwards. So moderate step up there in intensity, which I guess you'd expect. I think it's kind of running through brick walls kind of motivation, isn't it? That kind of stuff. So, yeah, that's what you'd expect. But he has changed things tactically, though, Seb, or at least in formation.
He appears to have done. Yeah, they used a 3 at the back. They were a solid 3 at the backside, using 3-4-2-1
at the backside.
For kind of for 15 occasions so far this year. But he's changed it. He's gone to a back 4. He's used a 4-2-3-1 in 3 of the games and a 4-3-3-1, which is the same thing. You just advance a central midfielder, don't you? So he has made a tactical change. And interestingly, we spoke a minute ago about the high turnover of staff of players in the January window. Only 2 personnel started against Charlton that started against us back in August.
Wow.
Yeah. So it kind of, stinks a little bit. It kind of reminds us of 18-19, where we had high turnover in the window. Colin Quainer, Will Keane, James Bree, Callum Elder. They all join, don't they? And we kind of, have massive turnover, and we get absolutely nowhere with it. It does strike a little bit of that, I think.
Talk to us about some of that. We mentioned Jordan Garrick is probably the big name that I'd be focusing on. Amadou Bakayoko as well, but there's not many big names in there. And you mentioned Connor Wickham was the top scorer when he left. He's the top scorer still now, isn't he?
Yeah, 6. Yeah, no one's got higher than him. Miles Pert-Harris is the top scorer of the players that are still there with 4. He's an attacking midfielder who can play kind of central as the 10 or drift out left and play on the left-hand channel. Corey O'Keefe is a bit of a threat. He's got 6 assists. He was one that started against us. He kind of was a right back, right wing back, right winger. In the 4-2-3-1 Ferguson's been playing, he kind of plays as the right forward role, with Jordan Garrick, who you just mentioned, kind of playing on the left. Amadou Bakayoko's likely to be the central striker. He's got 1 goal since joining, but Jamari Clark, who's on loan from Reading, he scored against Morecambe, I think it was a couple of games ago. So there's a thought that he might come in. He's 6'2.5", nearly 6'3". So there's a thought he might come in as a central striker to add a bit of kind of physicality. The central midfield isn't very adventurous. Dylan Magooch and Ben Stevenson, if you look at the heat maps, they both just kind of sit. They kind of don't like to get advanced over the kind of halfway line. Their role in the team is very, very clear. The defenders and the fullbacks aren't overly adventurous. Again, the heat map is an awful lot of red in their own half. They don't seem to want to kind of bring the ball out or look to push the wing backs on. So I guess it's going to be another low block for us to kind of deal with. And they've changed the keeper as well. Ross Dewan's the regular keeper now. Luke McGee was the first choice when he was in goal against us in the August game, but he's gone to Derby. So they've just had change all throughout the team, and they're going to really have to work hard to get any kind of rhythm going with this amount of disruption in personnel and managerial change as well.
Yeah, and in terms of the stats, they just, as you'd expect, I mean, the league table doesn't really, the old cliche, the league table doesn't lie. Shots per game, these are away iterations of the stats. Shots per game is 9. It's the 19th highest in the league. Shots in total, 18th in the league, 149 in total for across the season. On target, 3 shots per game, 20th. Goals 4, 19th highest with 14. Score quite a few set piece goals, and actually have the most direct free kick assists in the league, if that makes sense. So goals scored from a free kick rather than and a free kick assist rather than a second phase or something like that. So a cross in and someone heads it in. 3 goals scored that way. But XG below 1, lowest in the league. Away moderately better, 21st, but actually it's lower than their overall number. And they're even scoring less than their XG as well. So not great. Possession low, 44%. Aerial duels surprised me as well. Aerial duels.
I'm sure that will improve over the next few months with Mr. Ferguson in the coaching seat.
Average 17 aerial duels, 1 per away game, which is 23rd. Ipswich are worse. We are 20th. I think got my sequencing wrong here. I'm not sure. I think we are worse, or we're down there on aerial duels, which I guess isn't necessarily a surprise. You mentioned the no clean sheets, the goals conceded stuff, not great. They are making the most tackles per game, though, in the League One. 19.6. It's not doing much for them, though, is it?
That's the real quiz. Never mind the league table. That's the real quiz.
Yeah, interceptions, not great. Joint 24th in away interceptions with Ipswich Town.
I was surprised at that when I saw it on the script. I'm surprised we're so bad at
central midfield, though, isn't it?
We need back Cole Skuse. Do you remember he was nicknamed the Interceptor at one point?
Interceptor, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of yellow cards. I'm sure that I didn't check the yellow card number pre and post Ferguson. And XGA, Seb, talk to us about this. Massively, problematic.
Yeah, so the XGA is 39.7. So they should have conceded about 40 goals for the chances they faced so far this season. But they've conceded 59 goals. So I don't know what is going on with that. I'll leave XG to you to explain and try and find logic and reason with. But any side that is conceding kind of 19 or 20 above what they should have been conceding is going to find themselves bang in trouble, aren't they?
Yeah, maybe they're goals like Morsey's. I don't know. low XG shots that just keep going in. It's similar to us, maybe.
Maybe when you look at the Plymouth game, maybe Ballymumba banged in 3 from 30 yards on volleys against them or something.
Maybe that's an assessment of the XG bit rather than the goals conceded. Maybe it's a suppressing of the XGA number because the chances that they give up aren't the best, but teams just manage to score. Don't know, but yeah, you're right. It's a weird and a very problematic delta. There's a stats word for people. And you've spotted some other bits and pieces. Possession 1 in the final third. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, they're rubbish at it. So possession 1 in the final third is 22nd in the league. So that to me suggests a team that sits off, doesn't press, or if they do press, they're really, really rubbish at it. And they've conceded 5 penalties as well. So I think that was second or third in the league for worst against. So yeah, maybe, well, we'll probably miss it anyway, but maybe there's a chance we might get the chance to a bit of redemption from the Wednesday game if we get a penalty at Portman Road on Saturday. But yeah, aside that, all the stats just breed out let's face it, a relegation side that Ferguson's got a hell of a job on his hands to try and turn around.
So in summary, you're telling me there's a chance. Back after this.
Innovation Labs is business hub and co-working space with strategic locations across Suffolk. Our aim is to foster innovation, entrepreneurship, business growth, and the development of an AI centre of excellence in Suffolk. Monthly hot desks are available from just £79. For more info, head to innovationlabsgroup.com or contact info@innovationlabsgroup.com. Innovation Labs, providing support for businesses across Suffolk. Locations in Stowmarket, Ipswich, Sudbury, Woodbridge, with more to follow.
Let's talk about us, shall we? People bemoaning
what the hell
rotation,
do we do?
but we need there'll be rotation, won't there?
Yeah.
I mean, we need the central midfield desperately needs a Luongo presence, doesn't it? Really hoping that he's fit, don't we? We need
definitely. If
Morsey or Humphreys need a break, don't they?
Well, it'll be Humphreys, I guess, won't it? Morsey being the captain, etc. Yeah, if he's fit, even if we can only get a half out of him, an hour out of him, please God, hopefully he can get in there, because that central midfield's just been absolutely decimated, hasn't it? Poor Humphreys and Morsey look absolutely knackered. They're being flogged to death at the moment. So any chance we've got to get somebody else in there, even for half a game or a third or 2/3 of a game, then please use it. Did he say, he said Luongo, did you say he wasn't out, was he? It would be a late test and stuff for the weekend. He was saying he might be okay, along with Edmondson. So fingers crossed if we can get something out of him to give one of those guys a break. They'll have to play in the second half, because I'd be astounded if Luongo can play 90 minutes, given how little football he's played for the last kind of 18 months. But if we can get something out of him, then yeah, let's do that, because that central midfield is what is absolutely crippling us at the moment. It's like Joe was saying on last night's show, that kind of, it's one of the major issues we're facing. It's kind of stemmed all our problems, isn't it? Because we've lost so many players in that position, and we are now flogging players to death because we cannot get anybody else in there. And it's really, really hampering us, isn't it?
I think now is the time to play all of the big money January signings. What do you say about that?
So Hurst, Broadhead, Clark, and because Luongo was a free signing, wasn't he? He clearly likes Hurst, doesn't he? Hurst got the nod starting against Wednesday. I guess I know it's his old club, and Ladapo was back in against Bristol. So Hurst, Broadhead I think has to start. He kind of shows a bit of willingness to attack and running with the ball, looking to get forward and link with the strikers. What we can't do is what we did against Bristol, where we're playing attacking players and 10s who leave the striker so isolated. I love Aluko to bits, but he does drop deep for the ball. At least when you've got a Chaplin or a Broadhead on the pitch, that central striker is going to be kind of well supported with players getting in and around him. So I think both of those have to start. I'm not sure about Burns. He just seems to be way off it at the moment. But if it's going to be a low block, then I guess Jackson's pace is going to be pretty ineffectual anyway. So maybe you kind of stick with Harness out wide right instead. And the defence, I think Clark will come back in, won't he, for Danasi? I know Danasi got the nod against Bristol, but surely Clark will come back in for what should be a decent chance to attack and really, really go at a side.
Yeah, and it's harsh on Ladapo to bring in Hurst, but I kind of got I think all of us, and Joe has said this a few times on the pod, the sense is that Hurst was the primary target.
Yeah.
The fact it's alone probably doesn't change anything in that respect. So now's a good time as any to give him a start, isn't it?
Absolutely, and realistically, you might be able to get him in the summer as well. So you're going to want to play him to kind of a try before you buy option. I don't think Leicester have got any designs on keeping him. There might be a bit of a bidding war in the summer. If we go up, it'll be a lot easier to do that. But even if we stay down, then it's 1-2 million quid. They might still look to do it because he's a good age, he's a good pedigree. I thought he was decent against Wednesday. I know he was fired up for it. I wish he'd taken that penalty. That was so frustrating that Chaplin kind of pulled rank. If Chaplin's the nominated taker, then absolutely fine. That's what you have to do. But I'd love to see him smash that down the middle and then run with the ears cupped to the Wednesday fans. Yeah, that'd have been great, wouldn't it? So yes, I think he'll start. I think Chaplin has to come back in. Broadhead has to come back in, and I really don't know what you do on that right hand side. But yeah, I'd agree. Play the big guns, the people you've paid money for, the people that have to deliver to get us out of this league, and let's see where we are.
Is now the time for Kyle Edwards?
He's a game changer, isn't he? So against a low block, I guess maybe you need that spark and that kind of wild card. He does influence games well when he comes on. I thought he was okay the other night. He was very good against Cambridge and changed the game, but frustratingly, we stopped giving him the ball in that left-hand channel. So that was a bit of an annoyance. But I guess if he is, then you're going to have to leave out Broadhead, aren't you? I guess he could play wide right instead of Burns, couldn't he? I don't know. I guess you just maybe sometimes need that maverick, that bringer of chaos to try something different, because as we've seen recently, the repetition, the patterns of play that we're experiencing haven't really gone that well in recent games. So potentially he's one that could come in. He gives you something completely different that no one else in the squad gives you, and that moment of magic can make the crucial difference. I'll tell you what I also wouldn't be adverse to, which the guys discussed last night as well. I wouldn't be adverse to Greg Lee getting a game either. Davis has played a lot of football. He's, it's his first real season in kind of professional men's football, isn't it? I just think he's looking a bit burnt out recently. I was really impressed by Lee away at Burnley. We know he's got a great leap on him. He's got a great kind of engine on him. He's a great athlete. And I'd have no qualms at all if Davis kind of sat this one out with an eye to MK next week and a clear week training, and Lee gets the nod, because I think he deserves it. He's never let anybody down, like the guy said last night. And I'd have no problem if he was the left wing back or left back.
Yeah, I endorse that. Yeah, agreed. Nice to hear that there'll be massive rotation, which will definitely help everyone on Twitter having kittens about that.
If Clark, Lee, let's say Luongo, Hurst, Broadhead, Chaplin all come in, that's 6, isn't it? Yeah, it's going to be. Yeah, I guess that's just the world we're in at the moment.
Brave new world. We'll move. Yeah, well, we'll predict. We'll give our predictions shortly. Let's do some bits and pieces of plugging. It's always the wrong word. Pluggery is the wrong word. We need a better word, don't we? The announcements. As always, we're brought to you in partnership with the Greyhound. Do head down there before the game on Saturday. Get yourself a pint of Adnams out in the beer garden and join in the pre-match bants there. And also thanks to Innovation Labs, our other pre-match show partner. We mentioned the Telegram group. Do get in there if you like, as mentioned, if you like me and finding Twitter a bit of a chore to navigate right now, head over to the Telegram group, where, to be honest, we've had some pretty heated discussion this week, and lots of different views, but all done very respectfully. You can sign up for a 2-week free trial and a subscription thereafter, and you can join us in the live discussion for the Flagship show on Sunday night, 8 p.m. Ben in the host chair, me and Dave providing our thoughts on proceedings, and definitely keen to hear your views as well in the chat. 8 p.m. as always live on YouTube, and then the podcast shortly thereafter. But as always, everything you need, Blue Monday, ITFC.co.uk is the place to go. Merch store, social media links, all that kind of fun stuff. Head over there. One final thing that we need to definitely put our weight behind in supporting is, as well as fan supporting food banks, it's a new edition of Turnstile Blues. We're going to have a chat with Matt Makin now from the Turnstile Blues crew, all about it. Welcome back to the podcast, Matt Makin, one of the Telegram VIPs, but also part of Turnstile Blues Central crew. What is your collective? What's the collective of Turnstile Blues, Matt?
It is literally the Turnstile Blues collective.
There you go. Welcome back. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, thanks, Rich. Thank you. Thanks for having me back.
And I like the halo kind of effect that you've gone for as well above your head there. Like, or you've had a very bright idea. I don't know what it is, but great to have you with us.
No, pleasure.
Talk to us about the latest edition of Turnstile Blue out this weekend.
Yes, so we got issue 27 of Turnstile Blues coming out.
Oh.
I know. I know. 27 is
getting to 30s quite soon.
It's the long-running joke. This is issue 27 in what was going to be a one-off fanzine that we started in 2012, and we've now been going for over 10 years and 27 issues in. So, this is the second issue of the season, coming out before the Forest Green game at the weekend. So it's the usual mix of irreverent nonsense and insightful analytic writing that you've come to expect from Turnstile Blues. So we've taken a good look at how things have been since Game Changer took over. We obviously poke a bit of fun at what happened in the second half at Oxford. Not so much the result, but more the farcical conditions with the fog and some invention of rules by the ref. I've taken a look at the women's side and sort of where we are partway through the second season and life in the third tier, and that mad scramble to get that one promotion spot that's available to both the regional divisions at step 3 in women's football. Probably highlighted all the more recently with the comments from Emma Hayes, which I know the Women's Supporters Club have responded to today. We've had a look at Kieran McKenna's dealings in the transfer market. He's had obviously the summer and then the January window just gone. So we've looked at sort of what the hits and the misses have been there. We've also taken the time to talk about John Duncan. He's passed away since we last did an issue, and sort of his legacy and his impact on the club. We've also got a guest piece from one of our friends, Darren, aka Blowers, who's a devout Baggies fan, and so he's been talking about what's been not going so well at West Brom of recent. So it's that usual mix, and it's still just £1.
Just £1, Seb. What, you can't get anything for £1, can you?
No, that is amazing. To have something the same price as 10 years ago is absolutely astounding given the world we currently live in. So, no, absolutely superb value.
Inflation proof. Where can we find you, Matt? Where can we rugby tackle you to get a copy?
So we're going to be in the Greyhound before the match. So the fanzines are going to be delivered there. So we'll be doing the rounds of the Greyhound before we head down to Portman Road, and we're aiming to get down there for about 1:30. We'll have sellers all around the ground by the statues of Sir Alf, Sir Bobby. We'll normally have somebody outside the entrance to the fan zone, and we'll have some roving sellers as well, sort of doing back and forth up and down Portman Road and Sir Alf Ramsey Way. Anything on eBay or online? Yes, we've got a few advanced copies already going up on eBay now. So if you have a look, I think it's Town Collectibles on Twitter, and Alistair Ross, who's another part of the collective, has already got some up on sale there, and we'll be retweeting that from our Twitter, which is Turnstile_Blue. Fantastic, and we'll give that a retweet as well. Matt, I think that's everything. Very thorough as always. Can we get a prediction from you ahead of Forest Green? We'd better than Seb's, so. Wow, it's. I don't want to use the MW phrase, but I think a response is certainly needed after Tuesday night. I'd like to think with Forest rock bottom of the table, I could be a confident 3-0 to Town. But yeah, we'll wait and see. I'm hoping I'm right. I really am. I'm not quite backing myself. We'll see how your score compares against the rest of us in a second. But Matt, for now, thank you, and wish all the Turnstile Blues collective all the very best from us. Thanks both. My pleasure. There you go, Seb. Shall we do some predictions? You bloody love predictions. Here we go. What a great week it has been in the predictions league. So smug. So annoying. And do you know what the deciding... I know what the deciding result was. I know because you text me about it. Poor Paul, our Telegram contributor, didn't continue his fine early form. But Seb and I, 1 point decided it, Seb. Where was that point? It was the pessimistic, anti-fans, anti-football result you gave in the ITFC Sheffield Wednesday game. You predicted a draw. You predicted 0-0, didn't you? It finished 2-2, so you get the point for the fact it was a draw. I, who supported our club, who wanted us to win, who gave a Churchillian kind of response at the speech at the end of the show to get behind the team and get behind the fans, I find myself losing out on a point because I backed our club. But that's just the rules of this stupid feature.
just facts, mate. They're just facts. You can't argue with facts.
Can
Let's
we
have a
bring
look.
back room 101 or something? Where?
Oh no. No
Why?
need for that. No, I still have the music in here. Do you want to?
Oh,
Do you want
once
the
for old
music
times. Yeah, for old times' sake, put it on once.
to make you feel better about yourself? Here it is. I'm pretty pleased with that intro.
That's a much better feature. I know we were struggling with things, but yeah, I'd give anything for that right now rather than this rubbish.
If you want Football Room 101 to come back at Blue Monday ITFC, I nearly said my own Twitter. I don't give a crap. You can ask me all you want. It's not coming back. If you put it in the comments as well, if you want Football Room 101, and maybe we'll canvass some ideas for towards the end of the season when it's too late, when I've Plymouthed you or Sheffield Wednesdayed you and you're lingering right behind. There are some interesting games this weekend. I always think that Port Vale and Exeter are playing each other every week. Seemingly, that I feel like they've played each other about 20 times this season. But I've highlighted the ones involving teams in the playoff hunt. Sorry, guys. But there's no point looking at what Sheffield Wednesday are about to do because we're predicting them to bash MK 3-0. But Cheltenham at Barnsley, no surprises. We're all going for 2-goal margins there. We're all expecting Derby to rally against Charlton as well at home. You'd be surprised if they don't win that one, Seb.
I think so. Yeah, I think those two sides have got pretty easy kind of rounds this week, which makes our game against Forest Green a bit of a blessing as well. The interesting one is Wycombe Bolton, isn't it? Bolton have been on a hell of a run of form. Smashed Peterborough 5-0 last weekend, won again in the week. And yeah, you've gone for a narrow Wycombe win. They did us a favour against Derby, didn't they? Was it 3-2 in the end against Derby last weekend? So that really helps. They kind of halted their amazing run of form. So that would be nice if they could do us a favour as well. I've gone for a 1-1. I think it'll be a draw because I think Bolton are in epic form at the moment, so I can't see Wycombe beating them. But I've gone for the draw and some drop points and hopefully a bit of a momentum killer like it was for Derby.
And Paul's splitting the difference as well. I love how we've got all the outcomes sorted there. So we'll see who's got the preemptive wisdom on that fixture. And we mentioned Sheffield Wednesday at home to Milton Keynes.
Routine.
Where are Plymouth? I can't see Plymouth now. Home to Fleetwood.
They're at home to Fleetwood, so that's another routine win. So, yeah, sorry, chaps. I can't see any kind of pullback for the top two this weekend.
And I love how we've all got Lincoln to draw 1-1 at Portsmouth. It's kind of the default scoreline at Lincoln, isn't it? Let's talk about us. We've all gone for wins to 0. Even me, but only a narrow 1-0. I just hope it won't be. I hope you're right. It's a 2-0, but we've got to be open for more, haven't we?
I don't care how we win. I don't care. If it goes in off, if it's a 1-0 in the last minute going off somebody's shin from a deflected something, I don't care. We just have to find a way to win this game. I don't think, fine, I'll take it. I don't think we can look up the league anymore. I don't think we can look down the league. I think we just need to worry about ourselves at the moment and get ourselves back on some sort of running form. Running form. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Come on, mate. Come on.
Some words. We need to go on a run of really good form, and that surely has to start against the side that are bottom of the league and bottom for almost all metrics and all stats. So, yeah, I don't care how it happens. Just win.
Clip that on your podcast. Thank you, Seb. Thank you to Paul as well from our Telegram group. We'll be back next week. I was going to say something very smug. I won't say that. We'll come back next week and we'll see who's won, shall we? Let me put it that way.
I hope I beat you. I really hope I beat you next week. You won't do it.
Yeah, always when I click the button,
it'll be me and Ben next week. You watch. If he's lost, it'll be me and Ben doing the show.
I think I deserve a week off, do I not? But yeah, as always, Seb has the final word when I press the buttons. There you go. Anything else that you want to add?
No, press the button.
Thank you if you've made it this far with all of basically Seb and my shenanigans and unprofessionalism and moans and rants and what have you. Hopefully we've given you some insights for Forest Green on the weekend. And as always, head down to the Greyhound, join us on Telegram, join us for the Flagship show, buy a copy of Turnstile Blues. Anything else, Seb? Am I missing anything else? Give us a review, a podcast review, or a YouTube thumbs up is always very much appreciated as well. Subscribe to get content in your YouTube feed, whatever it's called, subscription inbox. I don't know. But thank you for watching. Safe traveling for everyone who's coming up for the game. Make some noise. Let's make some noise. Let's be positive. Let's get behind the team. Let's win. anything else there? But I think that's basically covered it, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty
That's
much.
basically it. Thanks for all your research as always.
And to you, mate. Thank you for hosting as always.
And yeah, I'll let you have the final word.
You've just said my final word there.
Oh,
I don't
sorry.
care how you do it. Just win. Come on, you Blues.